Ooh, this is going to be loud. Let's turn it down just a little bit. One thing that they teach you when you're in seminary, and if you grow up enough in a church, is that when you speak, you're not speaking here. You're trying to speak to the back of the room. So I can usually tell when I come down when I'm going to be loud. We are in the middle of a sermon series right now. We're in the middle of the month of June, where we're talking about the theme of the sermon series is called clickbait, which for those of you who don't know what clickbait is, they are headlines, they are lead-ins to videos that have a catchy title or a catchy hook that make you want to click on it. So you can follow through, and then the website can get more views, which means they can get more dollars for whatever article they are putting out there. I'm sure you come across this a lot in our digital age. People have been getting better and better at this, as far as how to grab your attention with headlines in order to draw you in. And what social scientists are finding is that there are specific types of phrases that draw more people in. And those phrases tend to bring about anger. So it might make you angry. I want to find out more what's going on in this, so I'll go a little bit deeper. Or curiosity. So if you get curious by a headline, you're more likely to click on it and follow through. But this has been happening for years and years and years. For those of us who remember the infomercials of late night television, how to draw you in, our operators are standing by. If you call within the next 30 seconds, we will give you an extra gift, right? And then there's like a countdown clock in the top right corner. 8-minute abs was another one, right? I mean, if anybody got rock hard abs after doing this exercise video for 8 minutes over the course of a couple of months, God bless them. It never seemed to work out for people that I knew. But today, so we think about, use those in mind as we continue on this sermon series with the titles that we're using for our sermons. So today's sermon is this one simple trick helped restore my faith in God. Just one simple thing. If we just did this one simple thing, all of your faith would be restored. You would never have doubt ever again. Okay? I guarantee by the end of this sermon, your faith will never be shaken ever again. I love the disciples. I mean, growing up, I always thought that the disciples were the people who had it all together. They were following Jesus, right? So they had everything figured out. No matter what they did, they were always going to be in God's good graces, and they could do no wrong. And then I grew up, and I started to read the scripture a little bit tighter. And in a lot of these stories, we hear the disciples falling just a little bit short. We hear stories about them arguing about who's the best. Jesus, who's going to sit right next to you when heaven comes? Is it going to be me? Of course it's going to be me. I'm the best. We see it where they denied children to come forward and talk to Jesus. They're pushing the children back, and Jesus says, "Let the children come to me." We see it in the story just before the one that Doug read for us today, when it's the feeding of the 5,000 on the lake shore. When they look at what they have, just a couple of loaves of bread and a couple of fishes, and they say, "We can't feed all of these people." And Jesus says, "Don't you worry. Pass out what we have." And then today, we find our man Peter, who sees Jesus on the waves, walking towards them in the boat. Peter gets out and says, "I will go to see Jesus. I will walk on water, just like Jesus is." And as he takes a couple of steps out, what does he do? but begins to sink. The waters come up over him, and he reaches out, and Jesus grabs him by the hand and pulls him out of the water. These stories will sound familiar if you've been in worship before, but these stories should also sound familiar to our everyday lives, where we think that we have everything together, we think that everything is tight, but then something catastrophic happens and our faith is shaken. We are shaken to our core, and we just don't know what to do next. This story, more than anything else, is a parable for us. Now, it's not like your regular Jesus parables. It's not the mustard seed. It's not the prodigal son. But it is a parable for us to hear about our own faith. About when we feel that the waters of life are rising too fast. Where it feels like our pool noodle has gone off astray. Where we just don't know what to do next. In our confirmation class this past year, this is something that our young people struggled with as well. What do I do when I don't see God there in front of me? What do I do when I feel like I don't have a strong enough faith? These are stories to remind us that we are all walking together. That we all fall short sometimes. And sometimes we just need to reach up and see what comes back. So what's the one simple trick? What is the one simple trick to restore your faith life? I feel like I've talked about this word a lot this year, but I think we need to continue to talk about it as often as we can. If there's one simple trick, which there never is, if there was one simple thing that if we could reinforce that within ourselves each and every day, each time we open up our eyes every morning, and the last thing that we do before we go to bed, it's hope. It's waking up each and every morning and finding hope in that day that we can move forward. Now, I know it can be hard because sometimes before we can really realize what's going on within the day, we are already on our phones. Our social media apps are open, our news apps are open. Oh my goodness, how many text messages and emails have come through overnight? And so we dive into the work of the day. But if we were to see hope, if just before we picked up that phone, before we grabbed that newspaper, before we did what we needed to do, we might see the world and the day in another light. I wonder though, if for some of us, myself included, if it's hard to see the hope that is there right now. You know, I was reading recently about where we stand in the history of all histories. And the more we read into where we have gotten today, how we have advanced to the point where we are right now, we see more good than bad that has happened. We are living longer than at any time in human history. Where our average ages continue to get higher and higher. I think it's somewhere in the 70s right now. Whereas if you were to look back a couple of hundred years, you'd be lucky if you made it out of your 40s. We know that advancements in medicine allow us to do this, as well as combat infectious diseases. I mean, from 2020 to 2022, we saw the world mobilize to come together, to take care of one another, and to pass out a vaccine that pushed COVID-19 away. We see that technologies have advanced so much so that when I remember when I was a kid, and whenever my father went on business trips around the world, and we called him on the telephone, there was a delay when we said, hello? And then finally he'd respond, hi. Now we can pick up our phones and talk to our friends and friends and family in South Africa on video, of all things, like that. We are mobilizing in ways to welcome our neighbors. We are finding ways to make sure that unhoused people have housing. We are finding ways to make sure that everybody is fed, to make sure that people have clean water. We are working and walking together towards advancement and hope. That if we put in the time and the energy, we can push off the darkness and the uncertainty that might be right in front of us. But if we move past it, if we organize and move past it, we are able to do amazing things together. Hope. Hope. Hope that we can find ways to end conflicts around the world. We can end wars around this world. That we spend less and less money on military armament and find more ways to feed people and to house our neighbors. To seek more ways to see that within each and every one of us, we are created in God's image, and that anything that we do to hurt somebody else only hurts our relationship with God. As a dyed-in-the-wool pacifist, it is hard to watch parades that show our might while treating people poorly because they're just trying to make a living. I see hope beyond what is in front of us because I know we have more in store. There is more good within us than bad. There is more hopefulness than despair. And those are the building blocks of a strong faith life. To see that there is good out there, and that good will always reach out, grab us by the hand, and pull us up. Friends, we are called more now than ever to be a hope-filled people. So if there was one simple trick, if there was one easy thing to do, it begins with each and every one of us. So that when we feel like our feet are getting underneath the water, or it feels like the water is coming up over our shoulders, to seek the hope and the good that has already been placed before us and know that is there to anchor us and to pull us out of the water. So this week, friends, I encourage you. To not let the tides of uncertainty, to not let the rains of doubt overcome you, but to seek the hands of hope that are looking to pull us out of the water. The hands that will guide us back to the boat. To know that when we come together in a spirit of hope, God shines bright. That Christ's message of inclusion and love for all is there for us. And that justice and inclusion will happen because we believe in God and in one another. So that's it. That's your one simple trick. Go and do it. Care for one another. Check in with one another. And know that we do this together. Amen.